Hey guys, hey Ronin, man. I'm here with my buddy Drinkin Dave, and he hates that name, but it's a good way. He doesn't drink anymore, but when he did, man, this guy can drink. You have a very broad, experience. You've traveled a lot. You've known a lot of people. You have a unique mindset, definitely.
It's like your attractiveness can change, like, by traveling 5 miles.
Oh yeah.
So let go of like any preconceived fixed notion you have on yourself about what your attractiveness is, because it's sort of like it changes from location to location. So so what's good about that is like right here where I am right now, like basically I could get on an airplane and travel 1 hour. When I get off that airplane, I'm like gonna be like Axl Rose. And then I get back on that airplane and travel 1 hour and get off the airplane and I could be Homer Simpson. Women's perspective of me doesn't affect my own perspective on myself. Like I kind of know, like, at least globally, I'm the man. So if I'm in a place where I feel like maybe I'm not, maybe I'm somewhere like where it's like I'm like sort of like Homer Simpson, I'm okay. I'm all right. I know I can always hop on an airplane 1 second and be Axl Rose. So there's almost like no underlying reality to it.
Right. There isn't. Yeah.
There's no underlying reality.
People try to convince you're a certain. You're either this, you're good, or you're bad, or
right.
You and also, I think too, like, obviously, if you make money or if you get famous, or if something that you happen to have becomes popular, you can suddenly get in demand.
Yeah, but it's
even in one place.
But also sometimes it's just like one thing that's like a staple here. It's sort of like right around here they have lots of fucking bananas, but like over there they don't. And it's like here it's like lots of potatoes, and over there they don't. So it's like you could be here and like you could be standing right here and be invisible, but then just go a few states over, and all of a sudden you'll be, oh wow, where you wow, you're so this, that, you're so that. Right.
The first time I got that taste of that was when I was young and I went to Mexico. But then the second time was when I went to Minnesota. And the girls were really excited about California guys.
Yeah.
Like they were like, you're from California? And they said, get in the car.
Yeah.
And I did, and I boned him in a sauna, and it was great.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, like...
It's very interesting.
I never thought of myself as that matters, I was just saying,
It does matter.
Right. It mattered to those Minnesota girls, I'll tell you that. They were down with me. They thought I was some kind of fucking rock star that night. This is a long time ago, before the internet. Right. But, it's true, man. It's so true. A lot of guys don't know what good things are in store for them.
So there's something
in this life.
So there's something to be said for, like, don't have a whole fixed notion of yourself and women if all you've had is the experience of being in one place.
Yeah. You gotta. Right. I think a lot of guys, they see themselves a certain way. I think too. This is what we're talking about here, is social status, and social status changes, not just based on location, but it changes based on jobs. It changes based on clothing. It changes based on geography. Your social value is not set in stone, is a very important concept, because if it's not set in stone, then what you believe about yourself right now is not true, basically. It's only true because where you are, what you're doing right now. But if you start to get a glimpse, and I think society does not like what we're talking about right now. They want men. Society accepts that some guys are very cool. Okay, so a famous musician, a rock star. Society accepts that rock star is going to get tons of pussy. Like, we accept that totally. Like, we don't even mind that. In fact, this is my belief, is this society has certain guys that they can fuck all the girls they want. Basically, pretty much any type of girls, a married, single. But if you're a regular guy and you mess with your social status, like if you increase your social status somehow, right? Society does not fucking like this. They want to beat you back down. Now, if you officially become this new status, like let's say you can take a company public and you're very high profile, Elon Musk, once there's a certain amount of things you jump through all these hoops, then society says, okay, you can have all the women you want, essentially, if that's what you want.
And they celebrate it, like a guy like Mick Jagger or whatever. It's almost celebrated.
Right. Right. It's more than accepted.
It's more than accepted. It's like celebrated. It's like he can do anything he wants. He was like knighted, like celebrated.
Yeah, and
they want to have. It's like winners are celebrated, but the average guy, the average guy figures out like that he can just like change his zip code and go and that changes, like he goes from average to like above average, and he knows that. That's
Well, I remember when I used to go to Mexico, and when I was a kid, and we lived next to Mexico, so I went to Mexico, and the girls definitely looked at me differently than American girls. I was definitely more attractive in Mexico, and it was only a few miles away. But I was definitely seen in a different light. And I think a lot of people listening to this are going to be like, yeah, they wanted visas, yeah, this. Okay, it is complicated. But I would say don't jump to that conclusion, because not every girl that I met in Tijuana that wanted to bone me wanted a visa.
Right.
I had a higher social status. Now, what I was going to do with that...
It also could possibly just been for them more attractive. Like why?
Right. I look different than the average Mexican guy. Right.
Right. And maybe just something like it's like one of those things like where
too many bananas in this city. Too many apples in that one.
Right.
You bring some bananas to the apple city and apples to the banana city.
It's as simple as like something a little bit different.
You bring one Asian girl to a Swedish countryside town, she's going to have guys lined up. I heard about this.
Yeah, it's like it's like I took a girl, when I was like living in India or whatever, and I took a girl from Cambodia. I remember like brought like a Cambodia girl into India. I mean, like I had to keep her like guarded night and day.
Same with me in India. When my Japanese girls, I had to watch them night and day. Even in a public bathroom, I had to wait outside in case there was a guy hiding in there.
I mean, she's attractive, and she's attractive in Cambodia too. But like, take her and put her in a different country. It was like they're like exotic. It's like they're beautiful and exotic.
I think too though, what we're talking about is more deep than this. To the guys listening, to you listening. What we're saying is that it is very interesting. Life is more interesting and exciting, and you have more options than you think. And a lot of the things that you're stuck on are not actually real.
But one of the classic mistakes a guy will make, they might get that knowledge and say, okay, the typical guy would be like, all right, yeah, go to Thailand. Like I'll go to Thailand and like think, or go somewhere like that. Right.
We're not talking about that.
Not talking about that, because the typical mistake then, like you'll see obnoxious guy. You should still have some humility, like of some sort. I think because
it's key. Humility is key.
Because the inverse is key too. It's like what I'm saying is like, here I'm Homer Simpson, zip code over I'm Axl Rose, next zip code over Homer Simpson. Next zip code over Axl Rose. The thing is like, where you get to a place like where you look like, you're like the rock star, you shouldn't let that go to your head.
No, because you're not a rock star. That's the thing.
So you'll see guys that like, they make the mistake of like they're living somewhere where they're not getting a lot of action, they're not getting a lot of play, they're trying to figure it out. It's like a real struggle. And they start resenting women or hating women for it, and then they go somewhere like where the women like them, and they kind of like act like they're like, all of a sudden they act like they're kings, take it out on the women. They're not being cool. Like they've lost all perspective and humility. Like they think like that the place where they were Homer Simpson, that wasn't reality, and the place where they're Axl Rose, that's reality. But really, neither is.
I don't even think it's that. I think that they have a lot of anger. So those guys, I've seen this so many times. You'll see a bunch of foreign guys in Asia, like say eating hamburgers or whatever, and they'll be talking, and then there'll be some foreign women next to them, another table, and they'll be just like, foreign women are bitches, and they'll just be going on, and they'll be like, last night I got this, last night I got that. It's because they consider themselves low value guys, and they're like angry low value guys who are getting revenge on the girls who they think damaged them.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for myself, I never did that. I remember I had my temptations. Okay, I'm not saying I was perfect, but in general, I really understood. I don't know why it was. Maybe because I grew up in a trailer park or something. I don't know what it was, but I could not get too full of myself. Like I just couldn't go too much that way. I knew this was temporary, and I was lucky to be here.
Right.
Like a nice summer day. It's not going to stay summer day. I'm here. It's a nice summer day. Perfect, right? Awesome.
But it's a nice thing to know. I think like the lesson for me, what it helped me with was that it's natural as a guy for a lot of your self-worth to be tied up in how women perceive you. It's right? I mean, it's like, but if you learn from moving from place to place that your worth in the eyes of a woman, it changes so radically. Basically, it can, for me anyway, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm in a place.
It's too unstable. I can't base my life on that. Yeah.
Right. That basically, it doesn't make sense for my self-worth to be tied up with how women perceive me, because how they perceive me is as fickle as the wind. It can change from like place to place. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to be like, okay, I'm in this place, and like, women like, I'm in this place where I'm not, like where it's very difficult for me to get any action, get any play, so I'm going to feel down on myself. And then vice versa, if I'm in some place like where all of a sudden like I'm like the hottest thing going, all of a sudden like, all of a sudden like I'm like the best thing going, I shouldn't let that go to my head, because then again my self-worth is tied up in how they perceive me, where it should be independent of that. And I think if you're like that,
yeah,
it makes you more the man. Like because then you go from place to place, and they know that you're, like that your self-worth, your self-identity is a little bit freed up from,
their opinion of you. Yeah.
Their opinion of you.
Yeah, and
I think in general that makes you a more attractive person.
Well, I don't know if it makes you more attractive, but I mean, sure it does. But that's the main thing is it's stupid. It's stupid to base your self-esteem based on a cool pair of clothes or a motorcycle or how people look at you. But you only learn that by testing out different levels of social status. You have to kind of test them out. You got to go. I think every man should know that he's attractive somewhere.
Right.
You got to know that, because when you know that, it does something good for your
good for your soul.
It's good for your soul. It's good for your sense as a man, because if you think like that, like let's say you go to a club and you act cool, but you know that you're not cool. You act cool. If you know that you're cool some nights, you're not cool other nights. Some nights you're very good at meeting this or doing this, and other nights they're not hot. I think that you have to experience those things in order to understand what we're talking about. So I think it's one thing to understand this theoretically, but it's another thing to go to a new place and have hot girls all over you. I think that is a good thing too. I don't want to devalue that. There's something about having hot girls like you that for a man, it does mean something. And it really is pretty cool. Every man should know that. In the same sense that I saw this kid, right, this little boy, and he was like 8 years old and he was really obese. And I remember looking at him thinking, he was so obese. I don't know how old he was, but let's just say 8. I thought that kid is never going to be sexually attractive to any woman in his whole life. He will never have that experience of being wanted sexually by anybody. And I remember thinking that's such a sad thing, you know?
Yeah.
I think so even though we're not saying it has deep meaning, what women think of you, I'm going to go the exact opposite. I'm going to say it has a lot of meaning. You have to know that you're wanted as a man.
Yes,
Is
I
it?
agree.
Yeah, it's not all theoretical. They want your penis. They want your fucking sperm. Women want you. And you have to know that. And when you know that, and then you have that in your bag, you say, okay, not all the time, not every day, not every place.
Right.
But this is a very real thing. And experience that kind of feeling, right? Because I think it's a natural feeling.
It's primal joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can be very illuminating. Of course, it's like primal joy. The guy that was like getting no play his whole life and then goes somewhere and like does, finds out that he can. Yeah, it's like it changes everything.
Or if you succeed, like if you take a company public in Silicon Valley, you're going to suddenly be very attractive to women. Or Mark Zuckerberg or any of these guys, they suddenly become very attractive. And it's easy to get lost in the woods. We're not talking about marriage. We're not talking about money. We're talking about your self-esteem and your manhood. It's important to know these things, regardless of what other people want. This is an internal journey here. Right. Journey to the middle of the sun. Your own brain. Your own soul.
And it's knowledge too. It's you get a certain amount of knowledge too, because you get like more insights and perspectives into like other people and women. It's kind of like a guy like Mick Jagger is not. It's not impossible for me to imagine what that's like. I mean, I'm not Mick Jagger. It's sort of like there's some wisdom or knowledge to be gained just from like at least getting a glimpse. You get glimpses you can get a glimpse.
You got some pretty good glimpses. These are your experience is pretty solid. Like this is enough to give you a real glimpse into what it's like to be very wanted. Yeah.
An idea of what that is and what
not
like.
Bullshit. Like I talked about it before, Giri Choco, and then basically, homemade, real chocolate. When the girls would give you on Valentine's Day in China, in Japan, they would give you the real chocolate, or they would give their boss basically responsibility chocolate or whatever, what your social whatever chocolate. It wasn't like you're the I love you, I want you chocolate. It was just some bullshit chocolate for $1 from the fucking convenience store on the way to work, and here's your fucking fake chocolate. They had to give chocolate to different guys.
Right.
But when the real chocolate, the homemade stuff, it was like they would cook it for me. And being wanted like that, and being seen as the man, that the girl spent like 3 months trying to learn how to knit a sweater, even though it was the worst sweater ever. Just the fact that she did it did mean something. It does. It did. I took those things, and I'll take those to my grave. Those experiences. They're. It's important to get out there.
Yeah.
Don't just theoretically say, "Oh, wow, that's true. I probably do have different value, different places," because I think that you might find it to be quite a spiritual thing. You might totally change your life. Like you might also choose to live in those places because, like, let's say, for example, I'm just theoretically going here. Dave's turning over the hamburgers, but let's say you went to a new place, right? And let's say that you were very anti-marriage. But the reason why, which you didn't even realize at the time, why you're anti-marriage is because the quality of girls that you had a choice of were quite low. Whereas when you got to a new country, the quality of the women that like you, that found you attractive, increased by many times, right? So all of a sudden, if you're going to get married to some cunty girl who works in a department store and is going to steal half your money, that's one thing. But if you had options with better quality girls, you might find your vision changing. And the best example I have of this is is one of my friends became very wealthy, extremely wealthy, and when she became very wealthy, her vision on things changed, Like when she got rich, she no longer wanted anybody to do favors for her because she didn't want to owe you a favor. Because she knew you were going to ask for kind of a big thing in response, right? People that have never had money don't really know what kind of problems people with money have. But once you actually are very wealthy, or you have a friend who's very wealthy, you realize that their vision changes. So a lot of the things in your life that you think are kind of your viewpoint, they're kind of based on your situation, actually. Where you live, your social status, your family, your skin color, your credit rating, whatever it is, your kind of situation that makes the choices that you make being the best choices. But when you change, all of a sudden you have to kind of reevaluate everything again. You really have to reevaluate, because you're like, all of a sudden, like, you can't really get it. It's very complex, actually. Social status is really complex, and there's evolutionary biologists who spend their whole career studying this stuff, and it's very, very interesting. I mean, one example, which was to me absolutely fucking breathtaking, fascinating, but they had these primates. I can't remember if it was chimpanzees or what it was, but they would sit in a hierarchy on the mountain. So the top alpha male was on the very top, and then his two henchmen below, and then below. And so you knew the sociologists, they knew which one was what status in the tribe, because in the whatever you call it, the clan of monkeys, because they showed it in physical things, like where they sat, who ate first. Somebody ate first, somebody ate second. And so you could see the monkey's social status. And the very interesting thing was, they took these monkeys and they gave them grapes. There was the monkeys that were in high status and low status. They gave them grapes. And what the monkeys did with the grapes was absolutely fascinating. The monkeys, what they noticed was the monkeys at the bottom of the pyramid, they would go and try to make friends with the top monkeys. So they would look at them, they would try to eat with them, and the big monkey, the monkey that was high status, he would push them out of the way, and he would eat by himself, or he would walk away to his friends. But when they gave the monkeys grapes, what was really fascinating was the low-level monkeys, they thought they were just going to eat the grapes, but what they did was, the low-level monkeys gave the high-level monkeys grapes in order to look at them. Just to look at the high-status monkey. The high-status monkey would allow them to look at them. It wouldn't walk away. If he knew they were going to give him a grape. And they even went farther, and they took pictures of the high-status monkeys. And the low-status monkeys would give grapes in order to see pictures of the high-status monkeys. That was the most fascinating thing. So when you think you understand something about yourself, think again. It's very fucking complex. So what we're talking about here is it's an exciting thing. I truly believe it's very exciting to see life through a different lens, because it helps you to question things. It helps you to know who you are and what you want out of life. You might think you want a certain thing, but once you know more about life, you'll know yourself better, and you'll make better decisions about what you choose to use with your money, do with your time, and what goals you have. Because you'll have different perspectives. Like for me, like I see the girls in here, and a lot of them are overweight and not very attractive. And I would never give them money. Like I just could never imagine paying bills and working for this level of female. Like I couldn't do it. Just because I know I have so many options, right? So it frees up my mind. Like I can be friendly with these girls. Like I can be friends with them. I know that there's no danger. If I didn't know more about myself through what I've experienced, through travels, through making money, through doing different things, through interacting in different kinds of social groups all over the world, would probably think it's smart to, buy a BMW with leather seats, all the kind of goals I had when I was in college. Just the same boring fucking goals. Go skiing, have a BMW, get a girl, have a woman, all these ideas that would have made me happy in the old days. Now, I don't even want those things. Like when I see people spending a lot of money to get like a corner table at a restaurant in order to seem kind of important, you know what I mean? Sorry, I'm eating a hamburger. That's why people do it. They'll go to a fancy restaurant. They'll tip the maitre d'. They'll get the best table, right? They feel very bad if they're next to the kitchen table or next to the bathroom, or if they're out in the middle of the floor. They want the nice corner table with the nice view. And for me, that has absolutely no value at all, because I don't care what anybody in any restaurant thinks about me. Like, it just doesn't even cross my mind. Like, I'm happy for the bathroom seat is totally fine. As long as I'm not smelling dirty toilets. I don't even want to sit down even. And it's even worse than that, because I really don't even care about sitting down at all. But I bet you, if I would have stayed in America, I probably would have, I probably would be like a typical American. But I'm free of that. So I don't care what people think about me, in the sense that my car, my house, I like clothes. I like to look good. And that's because I like to look good. I just think it's fun. I enjoy it. I like to be in shape. I like to have a lot of free time so I can come up with ideas, so I can be with my friends, so that I can leisurely travel, These are the things I value. I don't value the items that I would have valued. But a lot of the reason why, for myself, is because I'm not playing the social game. And it's not because I'm red-pilled. It's because I'm an experienced man. I'm an experienced man, and I know that it has no value. Like, what the neighbor thinks of me, there's no benefit to me, personally. Now, there might be at some point. If I ran for office, maybe there would be some kind of job I would have, or maybe at some point I would care. But right now, I have a much better idea of who I want and what I am and what I'm willing to do, because I've been around. Like, I was just saying, I don't care what, like, your neighbors think. I don't care what my neighbors think. Like, in the old days, I probably would have cared a little bit. But now I know I can just move and I'll never see them again. Like, it's like literally, like, it's nice to have friendly people around. I like to do barbecues. I like to hang out with neighbors, I like to have a cool neighbor, actually. But I'm not going to fall into the trap of keeping my lawn clean so that the neighbors are not unhappy. You know what I mean? And doing all those things that I see as slavish time wasters, and also I can see the value in people better, because I've known a lot of people, and so now I can see, like a good friend, I meet certain people, I can hang with you, right? But not everybody do I feel that same happiness, right? Because I know what kind of friend you are, right? What kind of guy you are. And I think that came from the upheaval, from the new experiences that came from what we're talking about, like breaking out of where you are, and trying new things and getting into a new social status. Like, there's a lot here. It's not just social status. It's new jobs, new environment, new weather, new thinking, new food, new ways to take care of your healthcare ideas, new cultures. There's so much else there besides just social status, but it comes along with it. If I can motivate anybody to go see new things and try new things, I think that has been the key for me. I wouldn't even at this point, I wouldn't even consider myself a success if I would have stayed in one place and succeeded in California. Because I would be so closed-minded. I would be like my mind. When I go home and I meet people like that, I don't jive on hanging out with them. You know what I mean? Like that is such a small life for me. I don't want that. It's not that I consider myself better than them. It's not that. I mean, I think everybody on this podcast is wise enough to know what I'm saying. It's you just get more knowledge of life and you want more out of life. You want people that have better understanding of things, right? Better ways of living, who are not like obstructing your happiness and stuff and believing in ridiculous shit, right? Because that's kind of oppressive too. Any other thoughts on any of this stuff? Like,
no, I think I'm good, man.
yeah, we just these hamburgers are fucking tasty, man. Gabe should be here any minute. All right, guys, I hope that's been useful, and I'd like to hear what you think, especially you guys that have been around and you guys that haven't been around. And I do want to say, I think Dave said probably the heaviest thing was, if you do find yourself in a different status, do not be the proud one. Because the point is that you realize it doesn't really mean much.
Right.
You revel in it. I mean, you can enjoy it. You enjoy the fact that you have a different social status. It's not like it's meaningless. There is some happiness to it, but it doesn't have any meaning. It's not really you at the DNA level. You are who you are. And you'll find out who you are the better when you do this stuff. Because I thought I was a lot of things before I traveled. And then I traveled and I realized, wait, I'm so fake. Like, I don't care about that. I had a lot of things that I thought were really important. And as soon as I traveled, I was like, I don't even care about that anymore.
It's just basically, it's the same thing with money. It's like the guy that, it's like nouveau riche. It's like the guy that had no money, then he gets money and he's an asshole. It's like, don't be like that. And if you're the guy that wasn't getting chicks and you go somewhere and you get the chicks, don't be an asshole. It's kind of like, because you're going to change your zip code and go back to Homer Simpson again. Just remember that you used to be Axl Rose, and it's,
Part of you is Axl Rose. That's the thing. Part of you is the fucking rock star.
Right.
And
take that rock star with you wherever you go.
Yeah. It gives you a confidence, you just know that any minute things can change. Like, some certain girl comes along and some certain job comes along, whatever it is, you just shit can change, Your life is not a monotonous trudge on the wheel. That's the other thing.
Right.
Like you were talking the other day, you were saying how some flaming hot girl was hitting on you the other day after having no girls on you for a while. And then suddenly, like, not just a girl, but a smoking hot girl, that can come out of nowhere and hit you. Like, just when you think it's darkest before the dawn, right? Not that you're looking for girls right now, you're not. But it still does feel good when a really fucking hot girl actually wants to be your anal slave. Like, she's fucking into it. She's not just, like, trying to fake you out of something. She's like she's stoked on you, right? That's a good feeling,
Yeah. At worst, it's a quality problem. At worst. It could be a lot better than that. Yeah.
All right. On that note, we'll call it a day. Have a good one, guys.